You just spent an hour on the phone with your parent and you can't point to a single cruel thing they said, yet you're sitting there feeling guilty, exhausted, and somehow like you failed them again. They never yelled. They never insulted you outright, but somewhere in the conversation about your promotion or your new relationship, the air got heavy, their voice went small, and you ended up comforting them instead of celebrating with them. You hang up and you think the same thing you always think. I'm selfish. I'm ungrateful. If I were a better son, a better daughter, I wouldn't feel this drained just from talking to my own parent. But here's what no one told you. That exhaustion you feel, that confusion where you can't name what went wrong but you know something did, it's not a character flaw. It's not proof you're broken. What if that exhaustion isn't your fault? And what if the confusion you feel is actually the most predictable response to a very specific kind of psychological manipulation? You're not imagining it. That drained, confused feeling after every interaction is real, and it has a name. When most people think of a narcissistic parent, they picture someone loud, domineering, someone who rages and demands and makes every room about them. But there's another kind. Imagine someone who needs to be the center of attention but can't ask for it directly. So instead, they collapse inward, become the wounded bird, and you rushing to their side becomes the applause they crave. That's covert narcissism. The psychologist Theodore Millon called it the vulnerable subtype. Unlike the grandiose narcissist who inflates, the covert narcissist deflates. They don't demand your attention, they extract it. Through sighs, through martyrdom, through a kind of fragility that makes you feel like the only thing keeping them upright is your constant care. They don't rage at you, they go quiet. They don't insult you, they get hurt. And somehow, every time, you end up apologizing for something you can't even name. The manipulation isn't loud, it's a whisper. It's the slight tremble in their voice when you share good news. It's the way they say, "I'm fine," in a tone that means you're supposed to ask 3 more times. It's the long pause before they say, "I'm happy for you," just long enough for the happiness to curdle. And because it's quiet, because there's no smoking gun, you blame yourself. You think you're overreacting. You think you're the problem, but you're not. What you're feeling is the cognitive dissonance of being manipulated by someone who's perfected the art of looking like the victim. Here's the part that will make everything click. When you succeeded, when you got the promotion, the relationship, the life you built, it didn't just make your parent feel left behind. It threatened the story they built about themselves. In narcissistic personality disorder, self-worth is fragile and comparative. It's not built on internal stability. It's built on where you stand relative to everyone else. So when you win, they lose. Not because you took anything from them, but because your success exposes the gap between who they believe they are and who they fear they actually are. That's called narcissistic injury. And for a covert narcissist, the injury doesn't explode outward, it collapses inward. They don't attack you. They wound themselves in front of you and make your achievement the knife. You'd call home excited, and within minutes they'd be talking about their health scare, their money problems, how hard things have been. Not because those things weren't real, but because unconsciously they needed your joy to stop. They needed the center back, and you gave it to them because you're empathetic, because you love them, and because somewhere along the way you learned that your job wasn't to be their child, it was to be their caretaker. Psychologists call that parentification. It's when the emotional roles reverse, when the child becomes responsible for the parent's emotional stability. You learn to read their moods, manage their feelings, shrink your needs to make space for theirs. You became so good at it that you didn't even notice it was happening. And the cost was this: you started to believe that your needs, your wins, your existence were somehow an imposition. Daniel was 34, a software engineer, when he finally recognized the pattern. Every time he'd share something good with his mother, a project he was proud of, a trip he'd planned, she'd go silent. Her face would fall. Then she'd pivot. "That's nice, honey. I've been meaning to tell you, I don't know how I'm going to pay the electric bill this month." Or, "I'm happy for you. I just wish I had someone to travel with, but I'm fine. Don't worry about me." And just like that, his good news became his guilt. He'd spend the next hour trying to fix her mood, offering money, offering to visit, offering anything to lift the weight she'd just placed on him. For years, he thought he was the problem, that he was selfish for feeling drained, that he should just be grateful she wasn't cruel. But then he learned the term, covert narcissism, and everything reframed. It wasn't that his mother was weak. It was that she'd weaponized weakness. She'd turned her fragility into a tool that kept him orbiting her needs, forever trying to prove he wasn't the son who abandoned her. The same thing happened to you. You learned to fawn, to freeze your own feelings and prioritize theirs, because that was the only way to keep the peace. You learned to doubt your own perceptions because every time you named what hurt, they looked wounded and you looked cruel. But here's the reframe you need to hold on to. You're not selfish. You're not ungrateful. You're not too sensitive. You are empathetic and perceptive. You just aimed those gifts at someone who weaponized them. And that was never your fault. The next time you hang up the phone feeling drained and guilty, you'll know that confusion isn't a flaw in you. It's the signature of a pattern you were never meant to carry. The exhaustion doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been trying to fill a need that was never yours to meet. Your parent didn't need you to be happy. They needed you to stay small enough that their fragility remained the loudest thing in the room. But you're not small. You never were. You were just empathetic in a home that mistook your care for currency. And every time you succeeded, every time you grew, it wasn't a betrayal, it was proof that you survived. So here's what comes next. You stop treating your needs like an imposition. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You take the empathy you've been pouring into someone who couldn't hold it, and you aim it at someone who deserves it. Starting with yourself. You were never selfish. You were just kind to someone who made kindness feel like debt. It's time to take that kindness back.